sure if you are able to hear me in the room. I am not yet able to hear you all. Well, John's. Guys, I had a technical issue. So I'm going to go ahead and troubleshoot my technical issue while you
find the agenda.
Go ahead and get us started.
Okay.
And to you, Lisa.
Okay,
Take it away.
All right. CNET ready? Okay, we're all ready. All right, I'd like to call to order the Ferguson Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. And first up is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll turn it over to Jenna if you have any special instructions for online participation.
I do. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And thank you, members of the public, board, and staff for attending the September 20th, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors. This meeting has been properly advertised in accordance with the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act as a hybrid meeting with the option to attend online using the Zoom platform and in person at the Ferguson Township main meeting room. If you are joining the Zoom meeting tonight and wish to speak on behalf of an agenda item, please say your name, municipality of residence, and the topic you wish to speak on when the chairwoman calls on you. Prior to commencing the meeting, I have a few short procedural items to cover. First, members of the public attending via Zoom are asked to remain muted during the meeting to prevent any ambient noise from disrupting the meeting. If the member of the public is acknowledged by the chairwoman, they may unmute their microphone for the question or comment. Secondly, board members are asked to state their name when motioning and seconding a motion so that the minutes may accurately reflect the action taken. Finally, a roll call of the Board of Supervisors will now be taken to ensure that all members can hear and interact using the Zoom meeting platform. All right, please state that you are here when your name is called. Ms. Danini, we can hear you.
Here. And I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, great.
All my fault. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Stevens.
Here.
Ms. Strickland.
Here.
Oh, I have someone in the waiting room. Okay. Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Ms. Williams. I did not see Tiara. All right, Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wardo, and thank you, Ms. Strickland, for getting us started there. We'll move on to citizens input. Is there anyone in the room or on the Zoom that would care to contribute any citizens input this evening? I'm seeing no one on Zoom. Is there anyone in the room? Oh, yep, great.
I am Steve Miller, and I just wanted to say hi.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for stopping by. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections or changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
This is Patty. I move that we approve the September 6, 2022 regular Board of Supervisor meeting minutes.
Jeremy here. I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously, and we're on to the authorities, boards, and commission reports. Tonight we have with us Ford Stryker with the State College Borough Water Authority. Welcome, Ford, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everybody. As my written report indicates, there's on one hand a lot going on, but on the other hand, not too much going on. I think everybody's aware of the Water Authority's decision to cease fluoridating the water. They decided to do that at the July meeting, and they're in the process of applying to the Department of Environmental Protection to change their permit. I believe, from what I understand at their last meeting, that the public will be allowed to comment on that during the October timeframe. But they'll be publishing information if anybody's interested in finding out more about that. The other item of note is the new water treatment plant has had some delays because of the supply chain issues, but they're finally getting it up and ready and doing some of the kind of end of construction testing. And they announced that they thought that they'd be producing water from it in I think February. So that's the only comments I have. I'd be happy to respond to questions or take any information you have or would like me to take back to the authority.
Thank you so much, Ford. Any questions or thoughts for Ford? If you're in the room and your hand is raised and I can't see you, just give me a yell, no problem. Thank you so much, Ford. It looks like no questions. We'll really appreciate you being here with us and following these important issues with our water.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, next up, we do have another ABC report tonight, and that's the Center Area Transportation Authority with Mr. John Swahalski. Welcome, John.
Good evening. Thank you and welcome. Thank you and good evening to all the members of the Board of Supervisors and, of course, the staff. You have, I believe, in your board packets my report dated September 20th, 2022. There are 16 bulleted items or subjects covered in that report. Many of them are what we would call, shall we say, rather undramatic, but still essential for administration items. There are two categories, though, that I think merits mention within the time limits that you have prescribed for my appearance here. The first one involves CATA Ride and CATA Go. I believe on your agenda this evening is another member of the CATA team, Derek Sherman, who is our Assistant ADA and On-Demand Operations Manager. He will, I think, have some information to share with you this evening. So I will defer any attention on the stage to him unless there is something related to board-oriented concern or action that you might wish to raise with me. There is one item, I think, from the standpoint of what will come up with regard to procedural action. In 2 years, the Center Area Transportation Authority will celebrate its 50th year as a public authority involved in providing public transport service. And that means that under the Municipality Authorities Act, there will have to be a renewal or a reincorporation of the authority. As I think you all know, CATA is a joint authority. The incorporators of the authority as it presently exists are, of course, the Borough of State College and the 4 townships, Ferguson, Patton, Harris, and College. And I'll leave any further word about that to your reading or any other questions you might have. But I think in the interest of time, I'll stand open now for any questions or expressions of concern or suggestions for improvement that you might wish to offer.
Thank you so much, John, for your presence and for your really detailed and thorough report. And thanks for drawing our attention to that Articles of Incorporation expiration coming up here soon. We'll look forward to getting that done.
I'm experiencing just a slight tinge of internet instability.
No problem.
I'm not.
I'm just thanking you.
Okay.
So no questions.
Thank you. Thank you
Yep.
very much. Thank you very much for your continuing support.
Thank you. Did anyone in the room have questions? John was having some trouble there, and I
did have one question. And
let's see if John is able to hear this. John, are you able to hear Lisa okay? You're muted, John.
Yes, I think for the most part, might repeat the question though.
Okay.
Have problems, it's something I could email, but I just wanted to ask very quickly about a particular bus stop, and that's in Ferguson Township, and that's the stop along Blue Course between T-Berry and Martin Street, T-Berry, Circleville, and Martin Street. As you're approaching Atherton, there's no corresponding stop on the other side of Blue Course, I think. Anyways, there's no bus pull-off there. I know the township has talked about putting in an island there, and I just wanted to know if this has been discussed about moving that stop anywhere. There's very heavy mid-block pedestrian crossing there, and probably most of us go through there a lot and see it a lot, and so I just wanted to take the opportunity to ask about that particular stop, if there's been any discussion about moving that. I see Dave Modricker has his hand up, probably in relation to that pedestrian island that is working.
In my memory, there has been some discussion and attention to it. I would defer to our executive director for any detailed comment about it. I will say this, there are a number of locations involving passenger access, safety in crossing busy thoroughfares, and also relationships between transit stops and the flow of traffic that periodically are always under the microscope of the CATA operating personnel. And if there's a policy matter, of course, it would come to the board for attention.
Thanks so much, John. Let's bounce to Dave Modricker. I feel like he has some knowledge for us that he'd like to share. Dave.
Good evening. We will be designing improvements on that section of Blue Course between T-Berry and Martin. And I did send email correspondence to Luana to get some input, more related to maybe shelter and amenities and concrete pad than a bus pull-off. However, I haven't heard back from her yet, so Ron Seibert, our township engineer who's taken the lead on that in-house design, is going to reach out to her again. So, Madam Chair and Lisa, we'll make sure that we get input from CATA in that regard.
I appreciate that, thank you. I guess my question would be, would there be consideration of moving that stop versus the pedestrian island? And or are there other purposes for that pedestrian island there? We don't need to get too deep into this right now, but I guess the strictly CATA question is, would there be a consideration of moving that as to avoid major infrastructure improvements along the road, if that's a sensible question. So I don't need an answer tonight. I know that's a long, involved question, but I did want to raise it while we had everybody here. And I know this is
thank you so much.
Quite a large project. Thanks.
Thanks so much. So Dave, I think you had the question there, and when you and Luana talk, you can, unless you don't, you unmuted, maybe you don't. It's basically, is it something where we, when we work across agencies like this, like with the school district, who's doing the infrastructure? Are we moving things around, such and such? So in this case, Lisa's asking, I think, would it make more sense to move the bus stop? Or are there other things that make us want to do this infrastructure improvement? Or is it just that draw that stop? So yeah. That's, I think, the question. So you certainly don't even need to try to begin to even answer it right now, but
Okay.
when you come back with more, as I'm sure you will. If there is nothing else, many thanks to John for his report, and we'll move on to our special reports and acknowledgments. Tonight in our DEI initiatives, we have several acknowledgments: Labor Day, Hispanic Heritage Month, Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month, and Rosh Hashanah. Oh, I'm going to learn some pronunciation, I believe, here. Okay. All right. Next up, Township and Fiscal Responsibility, no report. Then we'll move on to our Community and Economic Development reports. We have with us Derek Sherman with Catago and Connector Roots presentation. He is the assistant. Oh, I'm not sure what that acronym means, but he works with PETA and he's the on-demand operations manager. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you, and thank you for the board's time tonight. There's probably a lot of slides here, but we're going to go through some of these fairly quick, so I can leave enough time for you all to ask any questions you have.
Thank you.
So,
Let's see if I can find that button. Oh, we're off screen.
once you get there, you can start on the second slide.
I was being too techy today. Oh no. Confidence. Let's see if I can do it from
Well, while we're going over that, I will start on a couple of things. Back in 2019, actually before that, CATA started looking at microtransit as an option. Fast forward very fast. January 11th of 2020, we implemented our first zone, and that was in Bellefonte. First day we had 13 riders. First month we had 513. This past month we had over 5,300 riders on our Catago system, and we average almost, with the whole system, we average over 200 a day now. So we've seen a lot of success in it. We started out in Bellefonte, Pleasant Gap. Back in 2021, we moved to Boalsburg. The reason a lot of this stuff was implemented was CATA, at the time, we had a bus utilization issue. We didn't have enough buses to go around. And so we started looking at this as an option. So how could we reallocate buses to higher density routes off of, you know, lower performing routes? And we saw success in Bellefonte out of that. Sorry about that.
I had it, but you won't be able to see it if I leave it on my screen here. Well, let's see if I can find a happy middle. Alright, I think I can do this now. There we go. There, let me share so the people at home can see. I can't figure out what page I'm on. Okay. Zoom. Alright, let's see if the people at home can see this. Yes? I got a thumbs up.
There we go.
Alright.
Yeah, we can see it. So this just gives you a quick rundown of a lot of what I just said. Catago is a curb-to-curb shuttle service with same-day mobile app, trip requests, and shared ride. We also, outside the app, you have the availability to do trips via the website and also calling in. So we've covered all our bases there. So August 15th, we implemented the Southwest Zone, which is actually Pine Grove Mills area. As you can see here, extends out towards the VFW and encompasses areas along Old Gatesburg Road, and then somewhat out to Atherton. This is a curb-to-curb system within the zone, so you can go anywhere within the zone, and then you have destination points outside of that zone that you can also go to. So one of the main things common themes you're gonna see along here is every single zone, one of the destination points is the medical center. So everyone can get to the hospital via curb right to the hospital in each zone that we operate in. Old Gatesburg Road is actually a transfer point. You can actually transfer to the northwest zone and get up into Patton Township area, or you can, and I'll go over this as we go along, but just to mention it, you can transfer to our new Atherton, or College Street connector, sorry. We got too many, we got new routes and new zones, and so you can get to these destination points here, and you also can get out to Scenery Park. So if you want to go to the next slide. This is the northwest zone, which abuts right up against the southwest zone. And again, like I said, the Old Gatesburg Road is a transfer point there. And people from the southwest zone can get out to Geisinger Medical Center with simply transferring over to the northwest zone. This was the original zone we started out with. It has changed numerous times. Bellefonte and Pleasant Gap currently they operate about 200 rides a day. So what we've seen there is a lot of inner travel within the area. Again, as you see, Mount Nittany Medical Center is another destination point, and then people can get from this side of town to the mall side of town with the College Connector, and then vice versa, which is also another way to get out to our county seat out in Bellefonte if need be. You can go to the next one if you mind. This is the zone. This is the Fallsburg Zone. We implemented this last year. This is the first year, as of August, we've actually removed the P route out of Fallsburg, and we've reallocated those resources onto the Atherton Street connector and created about a 24-minute frequency. So if you want to go to the next one. So these are the operating hours. So Bellefonte, Pleasant Gap, and Boalsburg, but I want to key in on the northwest and southwest zones. Back in 2019, we operated routes such as the F and the S route in this area. What we've done here, as you can see, is we operate from 6 to 10 a.m. and 3 to 7 p.m. This is expanded hours beyond what our old commuter level routes used to operate in these areas. So we've been able to expand hours and created basically a curb-to-curb service within the area. That also connects what we're calling spine routes, our College Avenue connector and our Atherton Street connector, in order for people to get across town now, which is not something we had available before. You had multiple transfers to get from one end to the other. If you want to go ahead. So traveling to campus downtown. So from this area, if you want, I think the next one is there we go. So from this area, you can either pick up the College Avenue connector from right there in front of CATA, right across the street here, or Old Gatesburg Road at the medical building. If someone is wanting to get to Atherton Street, they can actually take the College Avenue connector downtown and pick up the Atherton Street connector, or they can actually take the southwest zone to the northwest zone and get out to Walmart or Wegmans and then come back across town. So this is allowing people a little bit more free access around the whole area. And as you can see there at the bottom, one-way trip transfers are always going to be free. So you want to go ahead to the next one? This is just a example of one of the vehicles we have. this is what we started out with. We have since, we contract the service out to MTM. We also have dual purpose the vehicles. So all the vehicles can either run for Cata Ride, which is our paratransit service, or they can operate with Cata Go, which is our microtransit service. Most of the fleet is all accessible. We do have some non-accessible fleet vehicles. The nice thing is that when you book a trip, one of the questions that's asked if you need an accessible vehicle. If that is what is needed, the system will actually divert a accessible ride to that location rather than using, you know, a non-accessible vehicle. Each vehicle is equipped with bike racks, for the exception of 3 small minivans that we utilize right now. And each vehicle, anywhere from, this is 7 to 12, actually it's 3 to 12 that we can carry. So if you go to the next slide. Fares. Fares is the exact same thing as Cata Bus, so it's $220 a fare. We opted for $220. There's many agencies out there that, because it is a curb-to-curb system and an on-demand system, have implemented a higher fare structure. We did our best to keep everything consistent. Also makes it easier for transfers for the public. So everything is the exact same way that we'd operate Cata Bus. So making a reservation. As I said, you have 3 different options. You have the app. The app is something that we talk about a lot. It gives you everything at your fingertips. If you ever utilize Uber and Lyft, a lot of the same concept. So everything's right there. You can see what time the vehicle is coming there. You can see the changes. It's important as these zones become bigger and ridership becomes bigger, because what happens is that you may book a trip, and because it's an on-demand system and it's a shared ride system, is that you may have 15 other people book trips at the same time. And so, you know, the more information you have at the palm of your hand, the easier it is to see what's going on. So one of the drawbacks to going to the web or the call-in is that you don't have all that information. But we also recognize not everyone has a smartphone. I'd be the first one to tell you I'd rather get rid of mine. But not everyone has one. And some people just don't, even if they may have one, they don't want to operate it that way. So we understand that. And that's why we came up with 3 different options. We do currently use Transloc, which is the software program that we have. There's many out there. We have been with them since the start of microtransit. Go to the next one if you don't mind. Thank you. So how easy is it? It really is fairly simple. You download the app. You can do it through Apple or Google Play. It'll ask you a couple questions. It'll ask for your email and everything like that. And then one of the biggest things that we try telling everyone is you have to enable your location when you're utilizing this. Because if you don't, it's not going to work right. So you open the app, review available services. Obviously now we have multiple. You pick your service and go and click from there. So if you next slide, thank you. Confirm your pickup location, and then you can type in your drop-off location. Now, one of the things that I've told a lot of people over time is that you can use a PIN. I would avoid using the PIN, only for the simple fact that, like anything, nothing's perfect, and if you pin it, you could end up getting picked up in the middle of the road because it's a GPS system. So utilizing addresses is usually the way to go with this. But you select the number of passengers. If you need an accessible vehicle, then you tap Request Ride and confirm details. At that point in time, you'll be able to see everything that pops up. It's going to give you an estimated time of arrival. It's going to give you the vehicle that it is showing up, and it's going to tell you where it's at. And that time will adjust, so everything's in real time. Next slide. We also offer a tutorial right on our website that people can go there and they can learn how to download and also book any trips. Next one. and I don't know who puts that on there as far as trying to contact me, but I keep trying to get that off there, but you know, they insist that has to be there, so. But I know that was pretty quick, but I really wanted to make sure that there was more times for questions than anything. So if there's any questions, you know, please feel free to let me know.
Thank you so much, Derek. Great presentation. I'm really just in awe to see how CATA has really pivoted and adapted in this difficult time. Do we have any questions for Derek?
Just a couple.
Yeah.
I'll just speak since I'm not sure if you can see my hand go up. Just a couple. I wanted to ask how staffing is going for drivers, if you're able to.
It's been up and down. So staffing levels were, you know, we were right where we needed to be going into everything. They've had a couple of adjustments, but with all that said, just to give you a little breakdown, right now we operate 5 to 6 vehicles in Bellefonte zone. We operate 1 to 2 vehicles in Fallsburg and 1 vehicle each zone right now here, and we've not really skipped a beat. And so MTM has done a great job of keeping up with that, despite some of the issues they're having. And one of the things that happens is we review the data on a daily basis, and that's communicated with MTM. So everything fluxes and changes. To give you a little idea of how that happens, from August, the end of August to the beginning of September, we literally took a 20-day ridership per jump in Bellefonte alone. And when you may not sound substantial, but when you're going from 174 to almost 200, it's substantial. And so they've still maintained about an 8 to 11 minute wait time, which in a 16 square mile zone is still pretty solid. So you know, it's like everywhere. You know, they're facing it, everyone's facing it, but they're getting through the challenge.
And that was my second question, was the data collection. And so it's more of a comment, I guess, is I think we'll all be really interested in seeing what all you find out from these new expanded routes and the zones, and you know, who's riding, what else is being requested. And so I guess the question there would be, you know, or a suggestion is that, you know, whatever compilations of data you can get back to the municipalities, I think will be great. And, you know, the Lucy committee or, you know, whatever. I think those are just so helpful. And the final quick thought is through the Lucy committee, we talked a lot about the affordable housing study that's going on through the county, and transit is just something that comes up all the time. And so I just wanted to make a note of that so that, you know, as that study moves forward, there's just a real move toward an integrated solution for dealing with these problems that we're really, you know, deliberate about incorporating all transit with housing stock and all those different ideas.
You know, it's funny you say that, and just real quick, I'll let you know, when we first started, we were low on staff, and I was driving a lot, which was fine because it allowed me to see everything work inside and out. But one person stood out. They lived in Bellefonte. They worked at Quaker Steak and Lube, and that before, because of our bus route, didn't match up with their time of work. They were taking a $40 Uber trip each and every day. We implemented this, that $40 turned into $440. So, and this was a lady that was working 5 to 6 days a week. So you can do that quick math. It adds up. And that's just one of many people I've talked to out there. So, you know, that is a big thing, being able to operate and move around and, you know, have that access.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I see that Sergeant Hendrick has his hand up. Sergeant.
Yeah, great presentation. Your story kind of leads right into my question. Ryan Hendrick with the police department. Kind of hit on it. We do have individuals in our community that even 440 may be difficult for them to get has CATA looked at, or have they partnered with any groups? The one in mind that comes to mind would be Center Safe. Let's say we have a victim that needs to get to court proceeding and can't afford it. Does CATA have any partnerships like that at this point?
I'm gonna actually let Luana handle that.
So typically what we tell folks is we use all of the funding that we get in to keep all of the fares low. Obviously, it does not cost $2.20 to offer those trips that we're working with. So when groups come to us about this, we usually talk to them about how they can maybe go to their donors or whatever in order to sort of come together and purchase passes or those kind of things. But at this point, we don't have a way to offer free passes.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll let you go.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Where did that come from?
Sorry, I'm on my phone. This is
Oh,
Kim
hi.
Bob
Yes,
Patton.
please do.
Thank you guys for having CATA do their presentation. I thought it was very informative. I just have a question. The information that was shown, we could not see exactly the presentation. It was kind of fuzzy. So is there any way that we can have at our different townships, at the front desk, the same presentation that was given, so our constituents would know exactly if they have any questions and the information given?
Yes, most certainly.
Thank you, Pam. And that is Ms. Pam Robb from Patton Township, just for clarification. Welcome, Ms. Robb. Yes.
Thank you.
Eric, to you.
Yes, most certainly. We can get that taken care of.
Thank you both. And thank
Wonderful.
you,
Thank you.
Ferguson, for having me.
Thank you for being here. Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and move on to our COG and regional committee reports. This evening, first up is the Finance Committee, and Ms. Strickland did attend that committee for me. Ms. Strickland, is there anything you care to highlight?
Sure. Thanks very much. There's a lot of information in the agenda, so I won't go through everything, but I'll just make a few comments. We reviewed the comments on the CIP, and that's the municipal comments that were received back, and those will be used to prepare the final CIP to go to general forum. We spent a bit of time talking about the timing of those comments and of just the CIP in general in relation to the budget. You know, it's all very tight, and so I think the plan to begin the CIP process earlier next year will remedy a lot of that. So I think if that goes to plan, hopefully some of these discussions will get taken care of in committees, and comments can go back and forth, because as it stands now, at that finance meeting, the comments were received. They were not all responded to by staff. There were also follow-up questions to the questions, and by the time that all is concluded, the budget meetings will have already started. So it's a little bit moot at this point. So it's because the comments were meant to, you know, in effect change what's in the CIP, which is how the budget's going to be worked out. So that was something. And then I did want to note from the CIP, and this is related to the timing too, is that if you saw in I think I lost it, in the funding portion of, and this was in the CIP, so in the chart that lists the expenditures and funding, you'll note that there's part of the funding comes from a $4.5 million debt issuance, and that's for the Millbrook Marsh Boardwalk and the service building, and that's for 2023, and then in 2024, 2025, there's another $3 million, I think, loan for the fire program storage. So sorry if I think I have those numbers right. I lost my finance thing here. Oh, I know where I have it. Bring it up. That was right, yeah. So it was 4.5 million for 23-24 for the boardwalk and the service building. So the point about timing is that you have the 3 budget sessions where you're going through all the different departments. And so I guess apparently along with that, you're approving the debt issuance there. So that would be a finance question, I guess, is where does that discussion get held? And it's a question that came to me after that meeting. So how does that flow? But I did bring up how pressured that timing seems to be if you're discussing that large of a loan for a project in next year's budget. If it was just for 2024, it wouldn't be so tight on that timing. So I thought that was pretty significant. The fire staffing, I'll just note that was something that was in the CIP as a maybe, so it was just being moved to a confirmed spending. The positions weren't actually identified yet, but Steve Baer just wanted the funds available. And he had some comments on future staffing needs. And that'll go to public safety, and if that's approved, that'll go into the budget. And I think that's all I had to comment on additionally.
My. Well, that was a hefty meeting, Ms. Strickland. I appreciate your attendance at that meeting. I guess we'll follow up with some clarification with COG. If I understood correctly, being on the Finance Committee, I believe that this is the first time the idea of debt issuance has been introduced. And if your timeline is correct, that would mean that we would need to secure a loan prior to the end of this year.
That's what I asked. And that, so.
All right, that sounds a little
yeah.
surprising. Okay, so let's definitely follow up with that. I think that would be the main thing to follow up with. I appreciate your report. Does anybody else have any other questions about finance? Okay, I'm seeing none. We'll go ahead and move on. I believe, let's see, we have next Climate Action and Sustainability Committee. Mr. Thompson, were you able to attend that meeting? I know it's your first one if you were able to attend.
Oh, yes.
Great. Do you have anything you wanted to highlight for us?
We were talking about recommending getting a consultant for the request for bid for the recycling and refuse contract. Try to one of the objectives kind of get a little bit more participants within the bidding process. I think last time around it was only like Advanced and Waste Management that came back, and now Waste Management's one of the only players in the game, and some other companies that may actually bid aren't able to bid because we aren't able to meet the objectives that we would like them to achieve. Interesting, they used one municipality. I think they put out a bid. They never got a bid back. They put it back out to bid, got bids that were too high, and it wasn't until they got a consultant in there to kind of make some suggestions and reimagine more or less the recycling and refuse, that they were able to get some bids that actually met their objectives, but also got them a good return on the investment there. Talked a little bit about compost drop-off. There was a bit of a pilot at the Fallsburg Farmers Market this past summer. 80% of the residents favored composting that were at the farmers market. They had over 177 drop-offs. They estimate about 2,800 pounds of compost. There is a strong interest in having a permanent drop-off, but that's a bit of a going to require a longer discussion, how we go about that. Do we establish collection sites? Do we look at maybe possibility of a hauler that is able to collect that, or even existing haulers. One thing that they showed was there are trucks out there that can like separate trash from like a compost, or but vehicles are right now are in very short supply and hard to get up. So I think through a series of surveys and other exploration, continue the discussion, see where we go.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions? I'm seeing none, if I'm correct, I'm not sure. Shout out if there are any. Yeah, I guess good luck with the contract. You know, I think that industry is further consolidating, and the more it consolidates, the harder it'll be to have a good competitive contract. So we'll see. All right. I attended the Public Safety Committee meeting for Patty this month, and I had served on that committee previously for several years. So it was nice to revisit that committee. I think that the main topic that I would highlight from my report is the code is still recovering from COVID, and an agency is recovering from COVID. I guess that's not uncommon these days. And their fund balance has been depleted. And so they enlisted the assistance of the committee that had been set up after the budget discussions last year. That committee, you know, met several times and proposed multiple solutions to bring that fund balance up, and those are detailed in my report. So there are going to be some strategies to deal with that. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to human resources, and that would be Tiara. She's not here. You could share any questions with the acting manager if we had any. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to staff reports. Let's see, we have our manager's report, Public Works Director, Planning and Zoning, and the Chief of Police report. Any questions for any of the staff from the board? And then I'll ask staff members if they would care to highlight anything from their reports. First, we'll go with questions. Any questions from any members of the board? Okay, I'm seeing none. Anything that, let's see, the acting manager would care to highlight? We'll start with you, Jenna.
Thank you. My report for planning and zoning is included in the agenda. Nothing of substance that I'm willing to highlight in it. Just regular business.
Okay, and Mr. Modricker, anything you'd care to highlight from your Public Works report?
Yes, thank you. One item. The township did confirm 2 cases of oak wilt on Beaver Branch Road. This is our first confirmed case in 2022. The arborist is in the process of remediating, meaning securing a contract to remove the trees and then to treat trees in a surrounding area. And there will be educational information going out to the neighborhood, also in our e-newsletter, and just a note, to the general public to remind that we have, ordinances and resolutions that do regulate the pruning of oak trees during certain times of years, and also that we are, actively engaged in the process to remediate this particular case. And any questions on the matter can be directed to our township arborist.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you highlighting that. That is a devastating disease and can really just affect forestry and land values. And I know that the landowners out this way in West Ferguson are quite concerned about it. And I very much appreciate your willingness to get the word out on that, because I think that some folks still don't understand how much of a threat that can be to their timber, to their trees. So really appreciate that. Any questions for Dave or on this topic? Okay. Sergeant Hendrick, you have also shared a report with us. Is there anything you care to highlight?
No, glad to ask any questions or answer any questions. Two things to point out. Ag Days was very successful, very well attended, good weather, which is rare. So that was a nice change. A lot of volunteers that we're thankful of, and a lot of hard hours by the officers, which I'd also like to thank you for. They work a lot of extra time, and it went very well. No incidents reported, so very happy about that. And for the first time ever, we attended the Pine Grove Mills Farmers Market, and was received, I think, well by the community and by the officers attending. So we're hoping to be invited back to that next year. Other than that, if no questions, I got nothing else.
Wonderful. Yes, the weather was a slight break, right? It was not quite 100 degrees this year. But
the vest made it feel about 100.
Yeah. All right. Any questions for Sergeant? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to unfinished business. We have none. New business, consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
This is Patty. I move that we approve the consent agenda as listed in the agenda.
And Jeremy here, I will second that.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And we're on to discussion on the consideration of 2 letters of support for a PA Senate Bill 919 and PA House Bill 1555, introduced by Ms. Wargo.
Thank
Director
you.
of Planning and Zoning, also acting manager.
Thank you. On July 28, 2022, at a regular meeting of the Pine Grove Mills Small Area Plan Advisory Committee, we have shortened that to PineSAP. That committee formally requested that the Board of Supervisors to consider signing letters of support for PA Senate Bill 919 and PA House Bill 1555. Both bills support local and community level solar projects which help meet the Pine Grove Mills Small Area Plan Objective 22.0 to pursue community-wide environmental impact reduction. So the PineSAP Committee has discussed impediments to the residents of Pine Grove Mills in accessing renewable energy, with the realization that a large portion of Pine Grove Mills is covered by their forest and their location to Tussey Ridge. So both bills would legalize community solar farms that would allow nonprofits, renters, and homeowners with poor access to sun to be able to purchase local solar power. So provided in the agenda is a draft letter of support drafted by the PineSAP, formally requesting the Board of Supervisors to review and support the 2 bills. And staff's recommendations that the Board of Supervisors discuss the draft letters of support.
Thank you, Jenna. All right, you will find a recommended motion in your agenda that I'll entertain at this point.
Jeremy here, I will move that the Ferguson Township Board of Supervisors support Pennsylvania Senate Bill 919 and Pennsylvania House Bill 1555.
This is Lisa, I'll second.
Thank you. All right, let's have discussion on the matter. We do have a proposed letter attached. Would anyone care to comment on the proposed letter? Sorry, I'm losing my place. There we are. There's my window. I'm seeing no comments. I'll take that as we like the letter. And there's not much else to discuss. I think we've got a motion and a second. So just direction to staff is that we do like this letter and thank you for it. So we'll cast our vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the vote on that. That's a guess. I believe motion passed unanimously. Okay. All right, great, thank you. Next up is certification of the 2023 minimum municipal obligation for the police pension fund and the non-uniformed pension fund. This will be introduced by Eric Enderson.
And I don't see
Must be
Eric,
him.
so I will introduce this.
Okay, very good.
In
Thank you,
accordance, no problem. In accordance with Act 205 of 1984, amended by Act 189 of 1990, provided with the agenda the anticipated minimum municipal obligation for police and non-uniform pension plans for 2023. Act 205 requires that the minimum pension obligations for the upcoming year be calculated and submitted to the Ferguson Township Board of Supervisors prior to September 30th of each year to be adopted by resolution. The municipal cost is estimated to be $358,749 for the police defined benefit pension plan and $232,096 for the non-uniform 401A defined contribution pension plan. The state aid unit value has not been provided at the time of this discussion. The net cost to the township presented by the total municipal pension cost minus the state aid unit value multiplied by the number of participants in each plan cannot presently be determined. This item is for information only and no action is required by the board. Staff's recommendations that the Board of Supervisors receive the memorandum outlined in 2023 certifications of the pension funds, minimum municipal obligations.
Thank you so much, Jenna. As Jenna mentioned, this is for information only. This will be an opportunity to ask any questions as well. Are there any questions? All right, I'm seeing none. We'll go ahead and move on to discussion on the Pennsylvania Municipal League's resolution. Oh, no, sorry, skipped one. Authorization for a public hearing on an ordinance of the Township of Ferguson, Center County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the waiver of additional fees and penalties assessed and certain other relief in the event tax bills were not received. This also will be introduced by Ms. Wargo. Jenna.
Thank you. The governor signed Act 57 of 2022 in July to amend the Act of May 25th, 1945, 1050 number 394, known as Local Tax Collection Law, by amending Section 7 related to effective failure to receive tax notice. The intent of Act 57 of 2022 is to waive penalties and/or fees for new property owners who may not have received a real estate tax bill that was inadvertently mailed to the previous owner. Staff's recommendation is that the Board of Supervisors authorize advertisement of a public hearing.
Thank you, Jenna. There is a recommended motion in your agenda that I'd entertain at this point.
This is Patty. I move that the Board of Supervisors authorize the advertisement of a public hearing according to the motion in the agenda.
Very good. Do we have a second?
This is Lisa, I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the matter? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And we'll move on to the discussion on the Pennsylvania Municipal League's resolutions to be considered by the 2022 Resolutions Committee. This will be introduced and presented by Ms. Strickland. Lisa, thank you.
Thank you. So this is in regards to the Pennsylvania Municipal League's Leadership Summit. Included in the agenda was the resolutions packet and the policy statement. So I wanted to see if there were any comments regarding any of these prior to our vote in the affirmative supporting these at the summit.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you for being willing to cast the vote on our behalf at both of those meetings at the PML conference. I hope you and the others that are attending have a really nice time there and learn lots of good stuff. I have no comments, thoughts, or concerns about any of the matters that you're going to vote on. Does anyone else have any question, comment, concern?
I just have one. So did everybody else have trouble reading the agenda, some of the proposed things? I felt like some of the symbols didn't come through.
In, when I downloaded it in Adobe, I couldn't read it, but I could read it online.
Okay.
So.
Because
that's where.
I downloaded it. Okay.
Yeah, I
It's like,
couldn't
what
read it there
happened to
either.
all the letters?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Technical issues abound.
Interesting.
All
so,
right.
So is it
Any other questions?
Was that so that you think that's my Adobe Reader or theirs?
It must have been something incompatible because it didn't work when I downloaded it in Adobe either. I had to read it
Okay.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
All right, but no,
Great.
like Laura, I didn't.
Yeah, I think probably everybody had that same, it's just one of those quirks with file. I'm not gonna get into it, but yes. All right, any other questions? All right, Lisa, do you feel good about your mission? All
Yes.
right, wonderful, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to discussion of 2023 annual appointments to Ferguson Township Authorities, Boards, and Commissions, introduced by Ms. Wargo.
Thank you. Provided in the agenda is a list of upcoming vacancies as of December 31st, 2022 on the Township's authorities, boards, and commissions. Additionally, the board's policy on ABC appointments is also attached to the agenda. The board is asked to open an application period for interested volunteers so that applications may be collected with adequate time to schedule interviews for board selection. Staff's recommendation is that the Board of Supervisors authorize the Township Manager to open an application period for ABC vacancies.
Thank you, Jenna. And there is a recommended motion in your agenda that I entertain now.
This is Lisa. I'll move that the Board of Supervisors authorize the Township Manager to open an application period from October 1st, 2022 through November 1st, 2022.
This is Patty. I'll second.
Thank you. Any comments, concerns, or questions? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And we're on to award of contract 2022-C19 Ferguson Township Public Works Building 3 roof replacement, introduced by Mr. Modricker. Hi, Dave.
Thank you. Bids were opened publicly for this contract 2022-C19 Public Works Building 3 roof replacement on Tuesday, August 30th, in person at the Township Building and remotely via Zoom. Myself, a number of others were present at the meeting, as noted in my memorandum to you. The contract was advertised in the Center Daily Times, and notice was provided to potential bidders. We did receive 3 bids. Jeffrey S. Bickle, doing business as JB Roofing, $24,336. Midstate Roofing and Coating, Inc., $46,443. Detweiler Roofing, LLC, $60,768. The bids
Thank you,
were-
sir.
I was just going to note that the bids were within the budget and the estimate, and that I am recommending to the Board of Supervisors award of the contract to Jeffrey S. Bickle, doing business as JB Roofing, in the amount of $24,336.
Thank you so much, Dave. All right, there is a recommended motion in your agenda. I believe Dave just did a really good synopsis of it. I'll entertain it at this point in time.
Jeremy, here I recommend we move the motion as stated by the Director of Public Works.
This is Patty. I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, and thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
And next up, communications to the board. Anything that anyone would like to share tonight?
I have one, actually. There is a resident that reached out to me about, the resident had filled out a form online expressing concern about the stop sign at North Allen Street and Aaron Drive. And it's not always, people don't always stop at the stop sign. They tend to roll through it, and so the resident has some concerns and hasn't received a response yet, and would like to get some eyes on that somehow by whoever needs to see that, and see what they can do to help with that.
I can make a note of that and get the right people on that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Anything else? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Then we just have our calendar items. We've got all our usual suspects there in our lineup, along with the farmer's market. And we've got a coffee and conversation coming up on Saturday, October 15th at Dunkin' Donuts at 8 a.m. All right, anything else?
The one
All right, if there's
thing,
no,
Did we have an executive session?
the next board meeting, it will be held on Monday, not Tuesday.
Very
That's
good.
the one
Thank you
big
for the
thing.
reminder for everyone. Next board meeting will be on the Monday, not the Tuesday of the week 3.
Laura?
All right.
Laura, do we
Yes.
also want the minutes to reflect that we had an executive session?
Oh, thank you so much. You know, I wanted to look up the date. I need to announce the date. Do you happen to have that as well?
I know I do. Hold
I
on.
don't.
It was
The
Tuesday,
14th?
September 13th.
Oh, yeah, 13th.
Yes, that is correct.
Yep.
Thank you for the sharing of the brain, all of you. All right, I will announce that the board did have an executive session on September 13th on a matter of land acquisition. And that is it. All right, thank you much. If there's nothing else, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Oh, so moved.
Thank you much. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, thank
night.
you.
Sorry we couldn't go
Nicely done,
any
Jenna.
longer.